Alright, there's a quick update with the radio. So this is a new box for the radio itself. I got a loop antenna here. The loop antenna specifications are from a YouTube video, but I found out that its inductance was a bit low, so I added a few more turns on it. So let me pull this and see what happens to that radio station. Gone. It is gone. Alright. So let me explain this a bit more. So, you know the plate design. What I have here is that I have a plate again. It's sandwiched. Inside there's an U-shaped piece that holds the other side of the capacitor, and its copper side is facing downwards. So only thing with that capacitor and this plate is this paper tape. This was done in order to have a bit more capacitance, because when you have the the plastic side of these in between, the capacitance is just a bit too little. I actually tested it with a what can I say, function generator, and when it was in its default position, it only went down to 650 kilohertz. So you need to keep in that mind if you're gonna build something like this. You should know that you cannot just get 10x10 pieces like these and use them. You will need a tad more inductance in order to do that, which is possible. It is. The loop stick is long enough. The loop stick inside of this is 10 centimeters and 1 centimeter thick. It got a slight cut on it, and that makes it 0.8 centimeters, and it is held in here. I made some pieces to hold it there, then glued it inside. I changed the feedback loop to a thicker wire with again 8 turns, something like that. It's not important. Again, and I drove this box. If you want to use this box, you can have it, but you need to use wood, because plastic is just, it's not tolerating. My stupid zero tolerance drawing will not work on plastic. I tried, trust me. So this was the 3mm thick wood. I also made for 2mm. I mean, it doesn't really matter. So I put an extra potentiometer hole here, and I made it so that there are like 3 switches. If you want, you can put like 3 switches on here. First one is, power on off. The second one, I made another coil in here, so there is like a middle tab on the loop stick. I filled the loop stick with 0.4mm copper wire. I filled 8 centimeters of it, but it wasn't a very tight winding, so if you want to do it, you will need to calculate it yourself. I cannot give very accurate numbers. So what I did was I added more turns after my initial first test to increase the inductance, which worked. Actually, I could have just filled the loop stick and used the plastic side of the capacitor on this side, but instead I made I wired it different. Instead of using the whole thing, I used the middle point. The other side of this capacitor is connected to the middle point, and there is a small inductor and a bit larger inductor, the original one. So now this switches between the small one and the bit bigger one. What this provides me is that I can, when you pull this all the way out, it's gonna start getting very loose, and you will stop having very good adjustability of this thing. So I usually use the large coil, sometimes the small coil. Which one is more comfortable, I can pick. But if I really tried, I could have just used both of them for the maximum inductance and use the plastic side of this, so that I would need to change the direction of the inside plate so that the bottom side of it's looking down, etc, etc. It's a whole mess. So what I did here is that I noticed that with the signal generator, this never covered the whole AM band with this as a capacitor. When I have this, I tested the short coil and the large coil. The large coil went as low as 450 when this was all the way pushed, but it only went up to 1.2 megahertz. The small one was a bit better, but it still, I think, didn't cover. Yeah, it only went like 1.6. So there was still, 0.2 megahertz more needed. So my solution is, instead of adding the second switch, messing this up, adding like parallel caps or whatever, the switches are also acting like capacitors. I didn't want to bother with that. So what I did is I just took a dead crocodile cable. So if I remove this really is a very good idea, by the way. You see, this is the bare copper. This piece was double-sided. It was very perfect, and it was double-sided. It's normally a problem that it's double-sided, but I made a solution out of it. So, this is not connected together. There's a epoxy, some kind of plastic between these two pieces. Since this side is taped, if I put the crocodile cable here, it will, it will have this tape as the barrier. I really don't remember the word. It's a bit late, so excuse me for the bad explanation. Other side of it, and I push this again in here. So, if I go with this side, if I put my crocodile here, then the capacitance will be lower. As the capacitance is lower, it will give me a higher frequency range. So, the thing is, if I want to listen to those low frequency stations, I go with here. If I don't want to listen, if I want to listen high frequency channels, I want to go here. The difference of inductance with this switch is very little. The two coils aren't much different than each other, so it doesn't really cause me problems. It's a really this is a very stable design. This tape will go bad over time, but I think this is as nice as it gets. My priority of upgrading this, instead of messing with this type of capacitor, if I find a reactor, I will just put another pot here, remove this capacitor thing, directly screw bottom piece to this, and it will be a perfect radio in that case. But as it is, I don't hate it. So this is the, again, stupid loop antenna. This works really well. You just saw how well it worked. If you adjust it, you can listen. So right now, there's nothing, right? So let me get this far away and first try to find something here. So I'm gonna leave the camera like this. Let's put the lens cap under it so we have a bit nice view. Alright, so let's try. Let's open the volume all the way. Put this again, and let's see. Right, we got something here. Not sure what it's playing at. So again, alright, we found something. So gonna get the loop antenna. Look, it's already working. There it is, that business. So there's, like, let me pull this out. There you go. Like, look at this difference. And adding the extra turns on this loop was necessary because the plate capacitors are again lower than the standard 365 pico. That is pretty pleasant. So there were different channels when I'm moving the plate, I noticed. So let's try another. Let's try something else. When I first built this, the idea was I was gonna have the cable out of this, the feedback cable out of these holes. Then there, I was gonna put some kind of terminal in here so that I could unscrew the terminals in here, then remove the feedback, then use this, get a feedback, a few turns of feedback from here, then use that so I could directly replace the loop stick with the loop antenna. That didn't work because the cables kept breaking and it was unreliable. But as you can see, I didn't need it at all. The coupling, perfectly fine. It couples very easily. There's like very strong signal right now. So let's try another channel. Again, let's try changing the coil so I can demonstrate what happens when I change the other coil in there. There. So this was the smaller coil, and you see I am out of capacitance in here. I really need to push it more. So yeah, in this case, this looks like it will require the large coil. There it is. There's the religious stuff going on. I think there are like, I don't know, Arabic AM stations there. We can of course nullify it with the antenna orientation if I really wanted. Yeah, there it is. So if you want to go to that, yeah, those two stations kind of overlap, so there's not much I can do about it.
Are o cerere aproape firească, pentru că este vorba de un cântec compus de Popescu, pe versurile lui Dumitru Popescu Chisele. Am dedus că ar fi fost pentru prima oară înregistrat studio cu imagine și cu sunet în 2005, dar nu bag mâna în foc. Au cântat la un loc Ana Sârbu, Narcisa Suciu, Luminița Anghel, Marcel Pavel, Adrian Enache, colectivul program Fabrică.
You can see I'm all the way down on the volume. It's just very loud and clear. So just the orientation of this just changes the radio stations. This is a very long, boring video about my little radio here. Alright, let's turn on the volume back. Ah, it's still hearable. Alright. Let's try something else. Let's try something on the higher frequencies to see if that is possible. Well, maybe I should add more turns to this loop. Looks like there's something there, but just some kind of interference. Alright, I couldn't find anything on this range. Let's try the other side of the capacitor then, let's see what happens then. There's something. Alright, so there is a very weak signal. This must be very high and high end, so let's take this here. Let's push a bit. This. Alright, so what happens here is that I am like barely like touching the caps. And there is something. Alright, I can work with this. So let's pull this bit more. Okay. Looks like in this case I need to instead remove some turns. I mean, I could use this point. I don't know if it's visible. I should probably change the wires with crocodile cables so I can use the middle taps on this. Oh, we have a temperature warning and my battery is going down. That's cool. So, let's pull this and see it disappear. Then, oh, looks like the correct way was this. No. So there's the review of this small radio. I hope you like it. I will provide the drawings, but be careful if you want to get this laser cut. Be sure to increase the size of the gap in here because it will crack on the screws. Check that area out. Make the hole bigger for the jack because it was too small. Other than that, you can remove the screw holes in here. They are not necessary anymore. And you can add whatever you want on this side. So, hope you like it. There's I think it's very cute little design you can play around with. And get a loop antenna as well if you really want to hear all of it. Alright, so that was all from me. Ask anything you want. It is very simple. The circuit isn't mine, but at least I drew the box and